Ms. Yeo Wan Ling.
Madam Deputy Speaker, whenever new technologies are introduced in Singapore, they are met with both excitement at the unprecedented impacts that they will bring about, as well as the fear of the unknown and the unfamiliar. Taking steps towards a low-carbon future will necessarily involve the uptake of low-emission vehicles in Singapore, and we are encouraged to see that the government has safety as their primary concern when it comes to the development of the electric vehicle or EV ecosystem in Singapore, assuaging the concerns of many Singaporeans. When it comes to confronting the ever-advancing technological revolution in Singapore, this is not our taxi drivers' first rodeo. Before the 1980s, taxis did not even run on digital meters we are now familiar with, but had analog meters hooked up to speedometers that calculated our fares. In 2006, our taxi drivers had to begin learning how to use the new NETS terminals installed in their vehicles. Fast forward to today, fares are calculated with algorithms on ride-hailing applications, and payment transactions are completed virtually without any effort needed by passengers. Our taxi drivers have also cooperated with evolving vehicle policies, and we have taxi drivers going on diesel, petrol, CNG, petrol-electric hybrids, and even blue diesel vehicles. Our taxi drivers have seen us through generations of technological advancement, proven capable of relentless adaptation and evolution, and we intend to continue to bring them along for this journey. However, the route that we take in developing our EV ecosystem in Singapore will determine whether our taxi drivers can face to the challenge or will be phased out by the measures taken. Madam Deputy Speaker, during the budget debates, I had talked about the plight of our taxi drivers and private hire drivers hit with the double whammy of low street hails, having to drive aimlessly around, wasting fuel and time, and on having to deal with petrol tax hikes. So every policymaker has two weapons in their arsenals, the carrot and the stick. It is the acumen of and the credit to the policymaker for knowing when to present the carrot and when to brandish the stick. With the development of the EV ecosystem in Singapore, with grand ambitions potentially for EVs to completely replace internal combustion engines vehicles in Singapore by 2040, I understand the enthusiasm which we might want to see drivers make the complete switch to electric. However, it must be asked, surely with 20 years to the finishing line, we certainly don't want our drivers worn out before they get there. It is important that I raise such concerns, with the push for going electric often coming hand in hand with discouragements towards the use of ICE vehicles. Surely, in decades to come, we will see exorbitant petrol prices as the norm, or even zero-emission zones out of bounds for ICE vehicles, but ushering these policies in an overzealous fashion now will only pile on the troubles for our drivers. Madam Deputy Speaker, I cannot stress enough that even as we make headway in the development of Singapore's EV ecosystem, it is of paramount importance that taxi and private hire drivers do not fall through the cracks, and in fact, they must be especially supported. Whatever cost we seek to transfer to vehicle owners and drivers in Singapore, they cannot be equally borne by our taxi and private hire drivers. Bear with my analogy. Just as some people cook for a living, some also cook as a hobby. Should the prices of ingredients shoot up, those who do it as a hobby can and might just stop cooking. But what is there to do for those who do it as a living? If to complement the development of Singapore's EV ecosystem, we put in higher barriers for non-taxi and private hire drivers, maybe they will actually think twice about purchasing an ICE vehicle or only drive when it's necessary. These considerations are in fact invalid for our P2P drivers. There must be a better way. If we can promise our taxi and private hire drivers that the onset of EV does not threaten their rice bowl, they will surely support and embrace the new technology. After all, our drivers have been very supportive of all our national campaigns and agenda, from getting swabbed to going for vaccinations, and being very responsible frontliners supporting Singapore as we emerge from COVID-19. I would like to bring up the additional considerations surrounding charging stations. With 40,000 reported active drivers in 2020, and with drivers driving in and around 300 kilometers a day, our drivers seek assurance that charging capabilities will stand the test of the P2P driving industry with the complete shift to electric. Any lapses in charging infrastructure, be it unexpected charging station breakdowns or the unavailability of charging stations, can compromise an entire shift or even an entire day's work. In addition, for many drivers, their vehicles are optimized for use 24 hours a day, with partnerships between day and night drivers, main and relief drivers. As it is, there is a lack of clarity with the availability of fast charging points and the economic balance of having vehicles rested in an 8-hour typical charging cycle. How would this impact the existing partnerships between drivers? How would this impact rental fees and the P2B business model? These considerations must be tightly watched and implemented with the interests of our drivers' livelihoods as a priority. It is our imperative then for our government to work closely with taxi companies and ride-hailing platforms to work out the implications of policies and infrastructure that accompany the electric push in Singapore. These concerns notwithstanding, I support the bill. Thank you.